My beloved child, throughout this time, you have not stopped searching for signs from the smallest incidents to the greatest upheavals. From the words of others to seemingly random situations in everyday life, you have wondered which ones were clues, which were confirmations, which held the answers you longed for. You waited for something clear enough to steady your steps, certain enough to quiet your doubts about yourself. I know this, for I have seen the quiet weariness building within you as you tried to piece together fragments of hope on your own. But now I want you to understand that you no longer need to keep wandering in that waiting. This very moment, this message touching your heart is the response you have been seeking for so long. Do not dismiss it simply because it arrives gently. The most important things in your life rarely come with noise. I do not need spectacle for you to recognize that I am speaking. I choose to whisper, because a whisper calls for deeper attention, fuller presence. Nothing in your life unfolds outside my sight, and no moment is forgotten or overlooked. This meeting is not accidental, nor is it a meaningless coincidence. It has been said in the right time, the right rhythm, precisely when your heart stands at the threshold of needing light. I know there are days when you feel as though you are walking through fog, every direction blurred, every decision heavy. You try to analyze, to understand, but the more you think, the more tangled everything becomes. In those moments, you wonder where I am, why I seem silent, why you must wrestle alone with unanswered questions. But, my child, the silence you sense is not absence. It is a stillness I create so you may hear what lies deeper than surface sounds. Even when you think I am far away, I am still covering your entire life with steady, quiet care. I have never taken my eyes off you. I see you in moments no one else witnesses, when you sit in silence with overlapping thoughts, when you smile outwardly while heaviness rests within, when you try to appear strong though your heart trembles. I see not only your actions, but also your motives, your longings, your fears you have never named. Before you speak a prayer, I already know what you need. Before your tears fall, I am there to receive them. Not a single sigh of yours passes without reaching me. Your life, with all its turns and fractures, has never been outside my concern. There are ideas that flash within you and quickly fade. Dreams you have not dared to speak aloud. Questions you keep hidden for fear of being misunderstood. All of these have been noticed by me. I know what you have tried to forget yet still shapes how you see the world. I know the wounds you believe you have moved past but are still waiting to be healed. And because I know you so completely, I come to you today not to accuse, but to lead you out of the haze surrounding you. In your confusion, I bring a light that does not dazzle, yet is enough to show you the next step. I do not force you to run, nor do I press you to decide immediately. I simply invite you to stand beside me, to let your breathing settle, your heartbeat slow, to remember that you are not meant to carry everything alone. The clarity I give is not a detailed map of the entire journey, but the assurance that you are being guided. When you know you are not alone, you will find the courage to move forward, even when much of the road ahead remains unclear. Let this message soak into you, like water seeping into dry ground after a long season of drought. Do not rush to judge it or overanalyze it. Some truths need time to take root in the heart. I do not require you to understand everything right now. What I desire is that you trust that I am here speaking, listening, and acting in your life in ways that sometimes surpass your immediate awareness. When you allow yourself to rest in this presence, you will gradually discover that the clarity you seek does not come from control, but from surrender. My beloved child, remember that my love for you does not depend on your perfection, nor does it fluctuate with temporary success or failure. It exists as a firm foundation, supporting you even when you do not notice it. Today, I speak not only for you to hear, but for you to live differently, more lightly, more trustingly, and more openly toward what I am preparing to reveal. In this stillness, you will find new strength. In this listening, you will find direction, and in my presence, you will find yourself held and guided by a love that has never left you, not even for a single moment. My beloved child, there is not a single heartbeat within you that I do not perceive. I know the battles being fought in silence inside you, battles without the sound of gunfire, leaving no wounds on the skin, yet slowly wearing down the strength of the soul. They are the quiet tensions between what you once held with certainty and the subtle doubts that slip in when you grow weary, between surging emotions that make your heart tremble and the careful reasoning that tries to keep everything in order, between the longing to move forward in freedom and the fear that pulls you back toward familiar, safe ground. None of these tensions surprise me. Long before you became aware of them, I already knew how they were forming and growing within you. There are days when you wake with a heaviness you cannot quite name. You continue with life, fulfill your responsibilities, smile when required. Yet deep inside you feel as though you are carrying an invisible weight. You wonder why your heart is not at rest, even though you have tried to believe, tried to pray, tried to live rightly. You fear that these doubts reveal weakness in you, so you hide them carefully, even from yourself. But, my child, I have never measured you by your doubts. To me, these questions are not signs of betrayal. They are the cry of a soul longing for truth and for real presence. I know there are questions you have never dared to speak aloud, not because you do not care, but because you fear that if you voice them, everything might collapse. You fear that admitting your confusion will cause the little faith you have left to slip away. You fear that confessing your weariness will make you appear weak, insufficient, unfaithful. But hear me in this gentle yet steady assurance: I am not threatened by your questions. Light does not fear darkness, and truth does not fear sincere inquiry. I am not here to demand perfection from you, but to walk with you through the process of your faith maturing. There are moments when you wonder whether I am truly with you. You look around and see silence, prayers without clear answers, a path ahead that remains obscured. In those moments, a quiet thought arises. Have I lost my way? Am I only comforting myself? I know these thoughts have wounded you, because you do not want to doubt me. Yet you cannot deny what you feel. My child, it is precisely in these fragile moments that I am closest to you. My presence does not depend on your emotions, nor does it disappear simply because you have not yet seen a clear sign. I have never left you, not even for a moment. When you feel empty, I am still there, holding you so you do not collapse. When you are confused, I am still quietly guiding your steps, even when you are unaware of it. You are not abandoned on this journey, and you are not meant to cross its hardest stretches alone. I, the one who called you, understand the structure of your soul more deeply than anyone else. I know where you are strong and where you are fragile. I know what is draining you, and what is still quietly nurturing hope within you. Let me say this slowly and clearly, so your heart can truly grasp it. I am with you, not in some distant place, not as an abstract idea, but very near, so near that the breath you draw is evidence of the life I am sustaining within you. When you think you are forcing yourself to survive, it is I who am carrying you moment by moment. When you believe you are walking alone, it is I who am walking beside you, adjusting your pace so you do not become exhausted. The battles within you are not the end. They are signs that you are being transformed. Faith does not grow in ease, it is refined in seasons when you must face yourself. I am not ashamed of your doubts, and I do not turn away when you grow weak. Instead, I draw closer so you may lean on me when you no longer have the strength to stand on your own. You do not need to pretend to be strong before me. I know you completely, and I still choose to remain. You may not yet see the outcome of this journey, but I do. You may not understand why you must pass through these inner struggles, but I do. Every question you carry, every sleepless night wrestling with conflicting thoughts, is shaping you into someone deeper, more honest, and more grounded. I do not allow this pain to exist without purpose. In my hands, it is being transformed into wisdom, into compassion, and into a faith no longer rooted in fleeting emotions, but in a real relationship with me. So, my beloved child, stop condemning yourself for what you are feeling. Stop believing that you have gone too far for me to find you. I am here not to accuse you, but to hold you in truth. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. And you are not alone. I, your Lord, am with you closer than you have ever dared to believe. And when you allow yourself to trust this, even with the faintest glimmer of hope, you will begin to sense a peace that does not come from having every answer, but from knowing with certainty that you are being held in a love that never lets go. My beloved child, I know how weary your soul has become from living in the in-between space of uncertainty. There are days when you feel as though you are standing at an invisible crossroads, where there are no clear signposts, where every direction is veiled in mist. That very sense of not knowing has pressed upon your mind, little by little, until it has become a quiet yet persistent weight. It does not arrive like a violent storm, but like a dense fog that blurs your vision, so that you can no longer tell where hope ends and fear begins, where the true calling is and where it is only the distorted echo of anxiety. And within that haze, you have slowly built a wall not to keep the world out, but unconsciously to protect yourself, a wall that has obscured your sight from the good things I have been quietly preparing for you. I see how you have tried to think more deeply, analyze more carefully, seek more counsel, gather more opinions, hoping that if you could understand enough, know enough, control enough, the unease would finally leave you. Yet, the more you do this, the more tangled your thoughts become, the heavier your heart feels. Overlapping ideas do not bring light, they only add noise. And within that noise, you begin to struggle to discern which voice is mine and which voice belongs to fear. My child, that confusion is not your companion. It is a stranger trying to draw you away from the stillness where I have always been waiting for you. Listen carefully to what I am telling you now. Confusion does not come from me. It does not bear my mark, nor does it reflect my nature. The disorder you are sensing is not a sign that I am absent. It is evidence that other voices are trying to intrude, trying to blur what I have already spoken. That unrest is like static, constantly sending distorted signals, causing you to doubt what you once knew to be true, causing you to forget the promises that carried you through many difficult seasons. It whispers that you must hurry, that you must manage everything on your own, that you must find answers immediately, or else you will lose everything. But I do not lead you through panic. I do not drive you by fear. I do not speak to you through the shouting of the world. I am the one who brings order out of chaos, the one who establishes calm even when circumstances have not yet changed. My nature is peace, not a fragile peace that depends on everything going smoothly, but a deep-rooted steadiness that remains firm even while the surface of life is still moving. When you are in my presence, your soul will begin to breathe again in its natural rhythm, no longer straining to keep up with external expectations and pressures. I know you have searched for clarity in many places. You have listened to others, read instructions, compared your journey with the journeys of those around you. You thought that if you listened long enough, you would find the right answer. But, my child, too many voices do not bring clarity. They only distract you from the one voice that can truly guide you. True wisdom does not come from knowing more options. It comes from knowing where you place your trust. And I tell you this with unwavering love, it is not in the noise of the world, not in the judgments of others, and not in the strained effort to understand everything on your own that you will find rest. The rest your soul longs for is not an escape from reality, but a place of steadiness within it. That place is not found outside of you. It is found when you step into my presence with a humble heart, willing to let go. Letting go does not mean abandoning responsibility or dreams. It means releasing the need to control what is beyond your reach. When you allow me to carry the weight you have borne for so long, you will begin to see more clearly, not because every question has been answered, but because those questions no longer rule you. I do not blame you for being confused. I am not disappointed that you have felt lost. I understand that your soul has passed through layers of pressure, accumulated disappointments, and unmet expectations. But, my child, right here and right now, I am inviting you back to a simple truth you once knew in me. You are safe. Not safe because you have done everything right, but safe because you belong to me. As you let your heart rest in that truth, the wall built by uncertainty will slowly begin to crack, and the light I prepared long ago will shine again into the places you thought had been forgotten. Allow my stillness to cover you, not an empty stillness, but one filled with presence. Within it, you will hear the gentle whisper of truth more clearly than the shouting of fear. Within it, you will discern what comes from me and what is merely the reaction of a weary mind. And step by step, the clarity you are seeking will no longer feel distant, but will become a natural flow that leads you forward. My beloved child, hold this deeply in your heart. I am not the God of confusion, but the God of peace. And that peace is not a reward for those who understand everything. It is a gift I give to those who choose to trust me while they do not yet understand. Come to me when you are tired, when you are overwhelmed, when you are unsure of where you are going. In me, your soul will find true rest, a place untouched by noise, unshaken by human opinions, and unmoved by unanswered questions. In me, you will return to yourself, breathe again, rest, and be led by a love that never runs dry. My beloved child, I speak to you with all the solemnity of love. Do not let this moment quietly slip away, as so many have before. There are moments that are appointed not to be repeated, but to be decided, not because I am harsh or impatient, but because I understand the rhythm of your soul and know when a door is truly opening. There are opportunities that appear only when your heart is soft enough to hear, honest enough to see, and humble enough to pause. If you allow this moment to pass in distraction, you may continue living as before, but you will lose a sacred point of encounter, a place where I desire to meet you more deeply, more truthfully, and more completely. I have seen many pass by, my voice as though it were merely a familiar sound. They hear, but they do not listen. They know, but they do not allow the word to reach the roots. They place me in a convenient corner of their lives after work, after plans, after ambitions, after what they deem more urgent. They remember me in times of lack, of dead ends, when fear rises and when things settle again. They turn away, occupied with whatever quickly claims their attention. I do not say this to condemn, but to help you understand the habit of delaying a response to me gradually hardens the heart, until one day a person no longer recognizes the call even when I speak very near. Today I warn you not with threats, but with compassion. Do not harden your heart. Do not protect yourself by closing off your emotions, closing off your questions, closing off your deepest longings. A hardened heart is not formed in a single night. It is built through repeated moments of hearing without responding, seeing without following, sensing without daring to trust. And then one day, when I call, that call feels unfamiliar not because I have fallen silent, but because the heart has grown accustomed to other noise. My child, I do not want you to walk that path. Do not close your ears to my word, for that word is given not only for understanding, but for healing. There are deep fractures within you that you have learned to conceal skillfully, not only from others, but even from yourself. You have grown used to living with broken pieces, calling them normal, calling them personality, calling them fate. But my Spirit does not come to patch the surface. He comes to touch the very root, where the pain began, where lies were once believed to be truth. True healing is not loud, but it requires you to remain, to allow, to trust. I know there is a part of you that fears change. You fear that if you stop and truly face me, you will have to release what is familiar even when it exhausts you. You fear that if you open yourself to my Spirit, you will no longer control your story in the old way. But, my child, control has never been true safety. True safety is being fully known and still loved, being guided without coercion, being transformed without losing who you truly are. What I desire to do in you is not to take away, but to restore the life, the freedom, the clarity you have dropped along the long road. Time is a gift, but it is also a reminder. It does not stand still to wait until you feel ready in your own way. The world moves quickly, and people are easily swept along by its frantic pace until they forget what is eternal. When I speak of time being short, it is not to instill fear, but to awaken awareness. There are seasons given for sowing, seasons for reaping, and seasons for deciding. You are standing in such a season now where hesitation can cause you to miss the rhythm, but humble response can open the way to a new journey. The world is moving toward deep and sweeping changes, and not every light is true light. The noise grows louder, distractions more refined, and human hearts increasingly weary. In such a landscape, my voice does not compete in volume. I call by truth. I call those I have chosen not to flee the world, but to awaken within it, to live differently, to love differently, to stand firm when many things are shaking. That awakening does not begin out there. It begins within your own heart. If you feel these words touching you more deeply than usual, do not brush them aside. This is not a passing emotion. It is a stirring. If you sense your heart growing still, not from sadness, but from recognizing something real, remain in that moment. I am inviting you to pause, not to delay you, but to keep you from losing your way. I am inviting you to see me not as a distant idea, but as one who is present, who calls your name, who waits for your response, one small but genuine step. My beloved child, this opportunity is not a burden, it is a gift to return to the center, to reorder your priorities, to place me in the rightful position, not last, not only when there is spare time, but as the one who leads. When I am in that place, everything else will find its proper order, not because your life will be free of trials, but because you will no longer face them alone. So, respond. You do not need eloquent words or grand promises. Only a softened heart, a true pause, a sincere whisper. Say simply, I am here. Give my spirit room to work. Allow my light to shine into the corners you have long avoided. And as you do, you will discover that what you thought was a final opportunity is, in fact, the beginning of something new, a deeper life, a steadier faith, and a more authentic relationship with me. My beloved child, stay here, not with your body alone, but with your whole soul that longs to touch what is true. Do not rush away when other thoughts pull you from this moment. Do not let the hurried rhythm of life cause you to miss what is being given. Staying is not delay. It is the bravest act of faith, the courage to pause, the courage to listen, the courage to let truth sink deeper than the familiar noise. When you stay, I do not accuse you of the times you ran away. I simply invite you to place your weary feet on the solid ground of presence, where your soul can breathe without straining. Do not allow yourself to be distracted by things that appear urgent, yet are empty. Distraction rarely comes as an obvious enemy. It arrives as a convenient promise, a gentle escape, a task that must be done right now. It pulls you along through logic, through fear of missing out, through the feeling that if you do not keep up, you will fall behind. But, my child, nothing is more important than keeping your center. When you keep me at the center, everything else finds its rightful place. When you lose that center, even the best things become burdens. Therefore, be attentive, not with tension, but with a softened heart ready to receive. I am your Lord, not in the distant way of a cold authority, but as the one who knows your name, knows the rhythm of your heart, knows even what you have never spoken. I am your Father, not merely in title, but in every quiet act of care. Every moment I have protected you from things you never realized. My love for you did not begin today, nor does it depend on how you respond in this moment. It is an eternal flow that existed long before you knew you needed to be loved. That very love has prepared for you a path of life, not a path without trials, but a path with meaning, purpose, and light enough for you to keep walking. Do not search elsewhere for what can be found only in me. You have tried to find comfort in achievements, to find worth in the gaze of others, to find peace by arranging everything neatly. At times, these things offered brief relief, but then you were empty again, like one who drinks salt water and grows thirstier with every sip. I do not blame you for seeking. I simply remind you where the true spring flows. For only when you drink from the right source can the deepest thirst of your soul be satisfied. Do not let disorder steal the joy I desire to give you. Disorder is not only external circumstance, it is an inner state that arises when you allow too many voices to compete for leadership. My joy is not loud, but it is enduring. It does not deny pain. Yet, it does not allow pain to rule. When you permit me to reorder the priorities within your heart, that joy will return like sunlight after rain, not flashy, but warm enough to revive what seemed long cold. Do not allow doubt to extinguish the flame I wish to kindle in your spirit. Doubt is not always sin. Sometimes it is simply the sign of a faith that is maturing, asking questions in order to go deeper. But when doubt becomes your refuge, it will make you afraid of the light. I do not ask you to deny your questions. I invite you to bring them to me. For when you place them in the light, they lose their power to quench the flame. Indeed, they can become fuel for it to burn more brightly. In the midst of these reflections, let Scripture sound like a firm anchor. Jeremiah 2:9-13 declares, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." This is not a slogan, it is a promise. With all your heart does not mean perfection, it means honesty. It is coming to me without masks, without hiding your weariness, without decorating your faith. When you seek me in the truth of who you are, you will find me not as you imagine, but in my living presence. My presence is here without requiring you to move, without requiring you to reach a special state. Here, in this very moment, when you choose to stay instead of flee, I am closer than you think. This presence does not weigh you down, it upholds you. It does not force, it invites. It does not judge, it heals. When you allow yourself to remain long enough, you will discover that the cracks within you do not drive me away. They are precisely where the light begins to enter. Seek me with your whole heart, not through rigid striving, but through simple longing. Seeking is turning your face toward me when you are confused, calling my name when you are weary, trusting that even when you cannot see the road, you are still being led. And when you do this, you will find me not just once, but again and again, in very ordinary moments in the quiet of early morning, in a small decision that requires courage, in forgiveness you thought was impossible. My beloved child, staying here does not slow you down, it deepens you. Giving your attention to what I am saying does not take away your freedom, it restores your ability to choose rightly. When you stop running, you will see that I have always been there waiting not to accuse, but to embrace, not to control, but to guide. Stay, listen. Let these words soak into you like rain into dry ground. And then, step by step, you will walk the prepared path of life, not alone, not lost, but held within an everlasting love that will never be withdrawn. My beloved child, before you could even name what was unfolding within your heart, I had already been there for a long time. I did not come to you with crashing thunder, but in ways so subtle that only a soul willing to listen could perceive them. There were moments when I touched you through something almost imperceptible, a quiet restlessness without a clear cause, a vague inner pull that made it impossible for you to keep living as you once did. You thought it was only a passing emotion, fatigue, a change in mood. But I knew, and now I tell you, that was the moment your soul brushed against truth. The moment I knocked from within, gently enough that you could ignore it if you chose to look away. I spoke to you in the silences, those spaces the world is always rushing to fill with noise, when everything around you seemed to pause, when you no longer had the strength to keep running forward, yet lacked the courage to turn back. I was there, not to force you to understand immediately, but to plant within you a question deeper than the ones you usually asked yourself. I was present in those moments when you felt not okay without being able to explain why. In the nights when sleep escaped you for no obvious reason, that was not meaningless disturbance, it was awakening, seeking a way to rise from within. I also spoke to you through the ordinary fabric of life, through the people you encountered, some who came and left quickly, some who stayed longer than you expected, some who wounded you, some who reflected back the very things you were trying to avoid. I used those encounters not to control you, but to reveal. I showed you what was opening before you and what needed to close so you would not keep stepping into old cycles. Doors that closed once hurt you, but they were not rejection. They were protection. Doors that opened once frightened you, but they were not recklessness. They were invitation. I spoke to you through the deep movements of your inner world, those times when you felt you no longer belonged where you once felt at home. Those moments when you realized you had grown while the environment around you had not. You tried to explain it with reason, with circumstances, with sensible narratives. But the truth is, your soul is being drawn back to its rightful place. I am not in a hurry. I am patient. I gave you time to discern, space to hesitate, because I respect your process. Yet that process is not endless. And now, my beloved child, I no longer speak to you through faint hints, not because I have changed, but because you have reached a place where you can face what is real. This moment is unlike the ones before it, is no longer a whisper in the background of your life, but a direct encounter between me and your soul. I am speaking with a clarity you cannot mistake, not through symbols, not through intermediaries, not through winding circumstances. This is plain speech, because you are now mature enough to hear it without losing yourself. This clarity does not come to frighten you, but to free you. There are truths that, if spoken only in metaphor, would allow you to keep postponing your confrontation with them. Today, I want you to know that I am present not as a distant spiritual idea, but as one standing very near, looking directly at you with a love that does not avert its gaze. I reveal myself, and at the same time I reveal to you what you need to understand about yourself, not to expose you, but to heal you. In the midst of this unveiling, let Scripture anchor your heart. John 10:27 says, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me." You hear because you belong to me. You are confused because you have listened to too many other voices, and you are here because your soul recognizes the true voice. This is not coincidence, nor a fleeting emotion. It is deep recognition, a knowing that does not need to announce itself with noise. I have not come to debate with you, nor to persuade you with arguments. I have come to invite you out of the haze where you have lived too long between maybe and perhaps. Ambiguity once helped you avoid pain, but it also kept you from living fully. The clarity I bring is not a detailed blueprint for your future, but a certainty about your source and your direction. When you know before whom you stand, you will know how to take your next step. My beloved child, my speaking to you directly at this time is not a privilege reserved for the perfect, but a responsibility entrusted to the called. You have heard enough that you can no longer say you did not know. You have seen enough that you cannot return to where you were. I say this not to pressure you, but to help you recognize the weight of this moment. There are times in life when delay becomes refusal, and I do not want you to lose what is opening before you simply because you fear change. I am here not to impose, but to face you, to face the fears you have not yet named, the dreams you once buried, the faith you shrank to fit your circumstances. I invite you to step out of the shadow of half-hearing and into the light of full understanding. That light does not strip you of gentleness. It gives you stability. It does not remove your questions. It places them where they belong. So, my beloved child, recognize what is happening. This is not just another message. It is an inner crossroads. I have spoken. I am speaking. And I will continue to speak, but how you respond to this moment will shape what comes next. Remain in this presence. Allow truth to reach the deepest place. And when you walk forward after today, you will no longer walk in uncertainty, but in the knowing that I have spoken. I am here, and I am leading you with a love that does not hide, does not retreat, and will never be withdrawn. My beloved child, in this very moment, I invite you to pause, not because you have gone the wrong way, but because you have walked for too long without allowing your soul to rest. Lay down the tangled streams of thought, the endless to-do lists, the vague worries that cling to you like a shadow. This pause is not an escape from responsibility. It is an act of wisdom, a choice to return to the source when you feel depleted. When you stop, you allow your heart to settle, your breathing to slow, and what lies deepest within you to rise above the surface noise. Listen to me with the ears of the Spirit, ears not governed by noise, not driven by fear or haste. Your spirit knows how to listen when you give it space. It listens through awareness rather than argument, through presence rather than analysis. I do not speak so that you must strain to understand. I speak so that you may remain. In that remaining, you will discover another rhythm, the rhythm of true life, inviting you to walk with it. Not pressing, not threatening, only patiently waiting. I am not merely an idea you recall from time to time when life grows difficult. I am not a distant power that appears only in rare moments. I am here, right where you are in this room, in this space. In this moment, my presence does not require you to feel something special in order to be real. It is real because I am. I fill this place with myself not to take over, but to uphold, not to impose, but to enfold. My spirit dwells within you not as a visitor passing through, but as the life that breathes in you. He is around you, not to monitor, but to protect, not to control, but to guide. There are times when you sense that presence clearly, and times when you feel nothing at all. Yet presence does not depend on feeling, just as the air around you remains even when you do not think about it. My spirit continues to cover, surround, and hold you in ways that surpass your immediate awareness. Perhaps you have grown accustomed to living on alert, always prepared, always guarded, always needing to be okay. You learned to stay busy so you would not have to face the emptiness. You learned to be strong so you would not have to touch your fragility. But, my child, I did not call you to brace yourself. I called you to be yourself, to be weak when you are weary, to be still when you need rest, to be real when you no longer have the strength to pretend. In my presence, you do not need to prove anything. You are fully known and still loved. Let your heart grow calm, not by forcing it into silence, but by giving it a safe place to rest. Your heart has carried many burdens, the expectations of others, your own expectations, words left unspoken, wounds not yet healed. I am not asking you to dismiss them or forget them all at once. I invite you to place them before me one by one and allow me to touch them. Healing is rarely loud. It unfolds through patience, through repeated returns, through moments when you choose trust over control. You may not realize it, but even now I am at work, not always through outward changes, but through an inward reordering. I am helping you discern what is essential and what is merely noise, what comes from me and what comes from fear. As you allow yourself to remain within this presence, Clarity will begin to emerge, not as a complete set of answers, but as light sufficient for the next step. Do not rush away before you have finished listening. Do not tell yourself you will return when it is more convenient. Convenience rarely arrives. Encounter is here. I do not need you to stay long. I need you to stay true. One moment of full presence is worth far more than hours of distraction. When you remain, you allow my spirit to do what he has always done, remind you who you are, where you belong, and by whom you are being led. My beloved child, my presence does not withdraw when you leave this moment. It goes with you. But your awareness of it will change how you walk. When you remember that I am near, fear loosens its grip. When you trust that I am within you, self-doubt softens. When you know that I surround you, defensiveness fades. And little by little, your life will reflect a steadiness that does not come from circumstances, but from a living relationship between you and me. So remain a little longer, not to chase a feeling, but to anchor your heart. Breathe deeply, and let each breath remind you that you are alive, that you are being held, that you are not alone. I am here. I have always been here, and I will continue to be here within you, around you, and before you, guiding you with patient love, covering you with gentle grace, and inviting you into deeper life, day by day. Top of form, my beloved child. The love I have for you is not measured by time, nor is it limited by circumstance. It did not begin when you did things right, and it does not end when you stumble. Before you could name yourself, before you understood who you were or where you were going, that love already existed, steadfast, quiet, and unshaken. It does not grow weary with the passing years, nor does it fade with the changing seasons of your heart. Just as the sky does not ask permission to cover the earth, just as the ocean does not need to prove its depth, my love is present because it flows from who I am. And now, the time has come for you to pause and receive this truth, not only with your mind, but with your whole being. Receiving is not easy when you have learned to live cautiously. You have taught yourself to question what feels too good to be true, to keep distance so you will not be hurt, to manage your emotions so you will not hope too much. You fear that if you trust fully, you will be disappointed. If you open your heart, you will be abandoned. If you place yourself in the arms of love, you will lose control. But, my child, my love is unlike anything you have ever known. It does not demand that you trade away yourself, nor does it require you to become someone else in order to be kept. It invites you into the truth that you were loved first, loved completely, loved faithfully, loved without condition. I am present in your life, not as a passing shadow, but as the quiet foundation that carries every step you take. Nothing and no one can change this. My presence does not depend on how you feel today, nor is it shaken by the days when emptiness settles in your chest. Even when you do not call my name, I am still there. Even when you turn away in weariness, I do not leave. There are relationships in your life that come and go, promises that are spoken and later forgotten. But my presence is not governed by such fluctuations. I remain not out of obligation, but out of love. I know you have searched for comfort in many places. You have hoped the world would give you what you needed, a word of affirmation, an achievement large enough, a relationship deep enough to fill the ache inside. You have listened to human voices, hoping they might soothe the tender places you did not know how to touch. You have looked for outward signs, successes, open doors, praise to confirm that you are on the right path, that your life matters. I do not fault you for seeking. The longing for comfort is deeply human. But, my child, these things can only reach the surface. They cannot heal you at the root. There are moments when you receive what you hoped for, a word of encouragement, a favorable outcome, and for an instant, your heart grows calm. Yet soon, the unease returns, as if your soul is whispering, "Not enough." You begin to believe you need more, faster, surer, and this cycle leaves you exhausted. I see you chasing external validations until you forget the source of comfort that never runs dry. I do not come to take away your longing, but to show you where that longing is truly fulfilled. My love does not compete with the world, it transcends it. It does not require you to prove your worth before you are allowed to touch it. You do not need to be deserving in order to be loved, you are already loved. And from that truth, you learn how to live in alignment with it. When you anchor your life in external validation, you will always be waiting for one more sign, one more affirmation, one more success. But when you place yourself in my love, you begin to live from within, from a steadiness that does not need to be proven. My beloved child, I invite you to hold this truth as a foundation, not as a beautiful idea to reflect on and then set aside. To hold it is to allow it to shape how you see yourself. When you know you are loved without condition, you become less harsh with yourself. When you trust that I remain even in your weakness, you become less afraid to face the truth. When you rest in this unchanging presence, you are less swept away by the temporary highs and lows of emotion and circumstance. I am not saying you will no longer need people, encouragement, or support. I created you for relationship, but I want you to discern this clearly. People are not the ultimate source of comfort, and the world is not where you discover your identity. When you place that weight upon them, you will be disappointed not because they are unkind, but because they are finite. I, however, am not finite. My love does not run out, does not grow tired, does not change. When you allow me to be the source, every other relationship becomes lighter, no longer a place you must cling to, but a space where you can love freely. You may need time for this truth to sink deep. I do not rush you to feel it all at once. True love is never hurried. I simply invite you to return, not this time, to search for a new sign, but to remain with what has always been present. Let your defenses slowly fall away. Allow yourself to believe, even just a little, that you do not have to keep running. Where you are standing within, my presence is already solid ground. My beloved child, when you stop chasing scattered affirmations and begin to rest in this unchanging love, you will discover a new kind of freedom. You will no longer have to prove that you are good enough to stay. You will no longer panic when a door closes. You will no longer despair when human words fail to soothe. For deep within, you will know that you are held. The love I have for you has no beginning and no end. It does not depend on your response today, nor is it erased by the days you forget me. It is here wide enough to cover every fear, deep enough to touch every wound, strong enough to walk with you through every season. Receive it, hold it, and from that place of rest, walk forward not as one searching for who they are, but as one who knows where they belong. My beloved child, incline the ear of your heart and listen not with the strain of the mind, but with the gentleness of a soul wearied by searching for too long. You do not need to run another lap, nor gather more proof to convince yourself that you are loved, protected, and guided. What you need, simple yet profound, is to open your heart, open it fully to what I have been pouring out upon you day after day, even when you cannot name it. This openness does not require you to be stronger, more capable, or more holy. It only asks that you be honest enough to stop resisting grace. I know you have lived in a world that promises and then breaks its promises. You have seen beautiful words dissolve with time, and relationships that seemed steadfast fracture without warning. There were those who said they would stay, only to turn away in silence. Hands that once held yours let go when you were weakest. The world has its ways, drawing near through advantage and leaving through weariness. I do not deny what you have endured, nor do I diminish the wounds it left behind. But, my child, let me say this slowly and clearly. What proved unstable in your life does not define you, and it does not define me. People may deceive you not always out of malice, but because they too are fragile. They may break their word not always by intention, but because they are finite. I am not like that. I do not change with the seasons, withdraw when you are hard to love, or grow weary when you circle back to old fears. I am faithful not merely in name, but in every moment I remain when you think you have nothing left to offer. I have never left you. Even when you turned away, I have never loosened my grip. Even when you gave up, you have searched for outward signs to reassure yourself, a door opening, a word of recognition, a favorable outcome. You thought that if these appeared, you would feel secure, convinced that I am with you. Yet, my child, outward signs are always shifting clear today, faint tomorrow. If you anchor your faith in them, your heart will sway with circumstances. I do not fault you for seeking, I understand that very human need. But I invite you deeper, to a place where signs are not shaken by the wind. The greatest sign I give is quiet, not showy. It does not necessarily bring applause or immediate clarity. It is the stillness that arises in your soul when you stop resisting and choose to receive the peace I give. Not the silence of avoidance, but the settled assurance of a soul that knows it is being held. As you allow that peace to spread, you will notice something strange. Circumstances may not have changed. Questions may remain. Yet the inner turmoil no longer rages as before. That peace is the mark I place upon you. It is not the world's seal, stamped on papers or achievements, but an imprint set deep within. It speaks to you even when you do not hear it with your ears. You are not alone. It reminds you even when the path is unclear, I am here. This peace does not come from understanding everything, but from trusting that you do not need to understand everything in order to be safe. When you rest in it, you choose trust over control, surrender over self-strain. I know you have grown accustomed to living guarded, always braced for disappointment, always preparing for the worst so you will not be caught off guard. You thought this was wisdom, self-protection, but, my child, prolonged vigilance wearies the soul and slowly closes the doors I wish to use to draw nearer. Opening your heart to me does not make you weaker, it makes you freer. You no longer have to police love, question presence, or chase validation. I do not promise that you will never hurt again. I do not promise that people will never disappoint you. But I promise this in all of it: I will not leave you. When you are anchored in this unchanging love, the collisions of life will no longer shatter you as before. You may grieve, but not despair, be disappointed, but not empty, grow tired, but nowhere to rest. And that place is not far away, it is found within the presence I give you. So, my beloved child, try stopping the search for one more sign. Stop asking, whether you are enough, whether you are right, whether you are on the correct path. Stay here in this moment and notice what stirs within you as you allow yourself to trust that I do not change. If you feel even a slight lightness, a gentle settling, a quiet ease, do not dismiss it. It is not coincidence. It is me touching you beyond words. The peace I give is not a reward for the flawless, but a gift for those who trust. As you rest in it, you allow me to walk with you, even when the road ahead is unclear. And in that companionship, you will slowly discover that you need not fear the darkness, for you do not walk alone. I am there, step by step, patient and faithful, as I have always been. Therefore, my beloved child, open your heart, not for the world to enter, but for me to fill it. Let my peace remain, spread, and take root. This is my mark upon you, my wordless assurance that I am walking with you today, tomorrow, and in every season of your life, even when your vision is dim, even when questions linger. I am here. I do not change, and you are being held, my beloved child. Today I come to speak to you, not because I wish to add to your confusion, but because the road ahead carries a weight and significance far greater than you are currently imagining. The time that lies before you is not a faded extension of old days, but a threshold, and I do not want you to step across it with trembling hands or a heart weighed down by a lack of preparation. There are moments when I choose silence so that you may learn how to stand firm, and there are moments when I must speak clearly, so that you do not lose your way when the season changes. Today is such a moment. You have been in a long season of waiting, longer than you ever thought you could endure. I know this. I have not been watching this season from a distance. I have been in it with you. I see each day you strive to keep faith alive through repetitive routines, through unanswered questions, through the feeling that time has stalled while the world continues to move forward. There are moments when you ask yourself, "What am I waiting for?" and then feel afraid of the next question. What if there is nothing to wait for at all? These thoughts do not push me away from you. They simply reveal how tired your soul has become. I know the nights when weariness weighs heavier than hope. There are nights when you lie there not fully despairing, yet no longer able to hope as you once did. You remember the promises, the dreams, the moments when you believed everything was about to change, only to find yourself still standing at the same point of waiting. You wonder whether you have done something wrong, whether you missed a sign, or whether I have forgotten you. My child, I have never forgotten you. The delay you feel is not neglect. It is preparation taking place at depths your eyes cannot yet see. I also know the thoughts that unsettle you, the whispers suggesting that perhaps all your efforts have been in vain, that maybe you placed your trust in something unreal. There are days when you still pray, still move forward, yet inside you hear a question you dare not speak aloud. Does any of this truly matter? I do not fault you for thinking this way. I understand that when answers do not come, your mind tries to create explanations to protect you from further disappointment. But, my child, do not allow these thoughts to become the voice that leads you. They are born of exhaustion, not of truth. There are moments when you want to let go, not because you are weak, but because you have been holding yourself together for too long. You do not wish to resist me. You simply do not understand why the answer has not yet come, why the door remains closed, why you are still standing at the edge of what you believe was promised to you. I know that feeling, the feeling of standing before a dawn that refuses to break, when the night stretches longer than expected. Yet it is precisely in these moments that I am doing delicate work. I am loosening your dependence on quick outcomes, so that you may be anchored more deeply in relationship with me. The season of waiting is not an empty space without meaning. It is the place where I reshape how you stand in life. If I were to bring you into the next season before you were ready, blessing would become a burden. Answers would turn into pressure, and an open door would leave you anxious instead of steady. I am not delaying because I am slow. I am waiting because I love you enough not to place you into something your soul does not yet have the depth to carry. I speak to you today because the coming season requires a different person, not a more perfect one, but one who has been reordered on the inside. I do not need you to step into the future with complete information. I need you to step into it with a solid foundation. That foundation is not certainty about circumstances, but certainty about me. When you know where I stand in your life, you will not be undone by what comes unexpectedly. You think what you are waiting for is an answer, a sign, an outward change. But, my child, what I am preparing first is you, how you respond, how you trust, how you remain steady when things are unclear. I do not want you to enter a new season with the same pattern of expectation that once drained you. I want you to enter it with rest, a rest that does not depend on everything unfolding according to plan. There are things that can only be learned while waiting: discernment, patience, and trust that does not demand proof. You have learned more than you realize. You have learned not to run at the first wave of emotional turbulence. You have learned to keep moving even when motivation is absent. You have learned to sit with questions without letting them consume you. These lessons will become a quiet strength as you step into what is next, a strength that is not loud, but deeply real. My beloved child, I do not come today to rush you, but to prepare you. I do not come to reproach you for being tired, but to lift you when you have no strength left. Your season of waiting has not been in vain. It is moving toward a turning point. But how you cross that threshold will shape much of what follows. So I invite you to lay down impatience, to lay down comparison, to lay down the thought that you have been left behind. You are not out of step, you are being aligned. Let your heart settle as you hear this. I know you have waited. I know you have hurt. I know you have questioned. And I am still here. I have not withdrawn my promise. I am preparing you to carry it without losing yourself. What is coming will require a person no longer driven by confusion, but by a trust that has been refined. Therefore, do not give up at the threshold. Do not draw conclusions before the story is finished. Do not assume that silence is the same as absence. I am speaking to you today because I want you to step into the days ahead with open eyes, a heart firmly anchored, and a soul that has been made ready. You are not walking alone. I will go before you, walk beside you, and remain behind you as I always have. My beloved child, today, I want you to understand something at a depth far beyond a passing thought. Understand it with an awareness that takes root in your soul. The season of waiting you are walking through has never fallen outside of my plan. It is not a meaningless gap between two actions in your life, nor is it a sign that I am delaying or forgetting you. This season has been appointed with intention, measured by wisdom, and covered by an unshakable love. If you see it as punishment, you will feel only pain. But when you see it in the light of truth, you will recognize it as the forge where I am preparing you for something far greater than you can imagine. I know there are days when you feel as though you are standing still while everything around you moves quickly. You see others turning new pages, harvesting results, opening new doors, while you remain here surrounded by unanswered questions. You wonder whether you have been left behind. whether you have done something wrong, or whether you were not good enough to move forward. But, my child, slowness in my hands is never falling behind. It is a pace carefully adjusted so that your soul will not shatter under the weight of what is coming. This time has not been wasted. I have not overlooked a single tear, nor allowed a single sleepless night to pass without purpose. Every quiet moment of waiting, every time you chose not to give up despite exhaustion, has been becoming material in my hands, like a potter kneading clay, not to destroy it, but to shape it. I have been working within you quietly, without display, yet with great precision. There are parts of you that must soften before they can be lifted. There are rough edges that must be smoothed before you can stand firmly in a new role. I have used this season to test you, not to prove your weakness, but to reveal what you truly rely on. When familiar supports no longer hold you, when old solutions no longer work, you begin to see what you are clinging to. I do not take away to leave you empty. I strip away so that you may be free. For when you cling only to what you can see, you will always be limited by the visible. But when you learn to trust me, the one you cannot see with natural eyes, you enter a deeper dimension of life. In the days when you thought nothing was happening, I was quietly strengthening you. That strength did not always show itself as enthusiasm or obvious confidence. Sometimes it appeared as the ability to get up one more time, as patience you did not know you possessed, as a gentleness you learned to extend to yourself. I taught you how to listen not only to voices outside you, but to the subtle movements within your heart. I taught you to discern between the urgency of fear and the guidance of truth. These lessons are not glamorous, but they will become a firm foundation as you step into what is next. I have also used this season to refine you. Just as gold is placed in fire not to lose its value but to reveal its purity, you have passed through necessary heat so that impurities could be removed. Motives you once did not recognize, desires you once thought harmless, have been brought into the light. I did not do this to shame you, but to free you. A refined heart is no longer ruled by human approval or by the fear of loss. It stands secure because it knows to whom it belongs. Now, my beloved child, I want you to know that the moment for a significant shift is drawing very near. This is not a vague promise meant to keep you enduring. It is a movement already initiated in the unseen realm. Yet what is coming will be unlike anything you have known. It is not merely a change of circumstances. It is a change of inner position. If you step into it with an old heart heavy with doubt, hardened by disappointment, you will not recognize what I am doing. That is why what I ask of you is not haste, but awareness. What I am preparing for you requires an awakened heart, a heart that does not fall asleep in habit, does not protect itself with indifference, does not shut its ears to truth. It is a heart that trembles at the call, remains pliable under correction, and has the courage to step beyond what is familiar when I invite it. I do not need you to understand everything before you move. I need you to be willing to listen and respond. Sensitivity to my voice will be the compass that guides you in the coming season, not a detailed map, but a living direction. My beloved child, remember this: I did not lead you through a season of waiting only to abandon you at the threshold. I was with you in every silent day, and I will be with you in every step of transition. What is coming will test you in new ways, not to break you, but to reveal how prepared you have become. And when you look back, you will see that without this season of waiting, you would not have had the depth to carry what I am about to give. So do not despise days that seem ordinary. Do not discount quiet progress. Do not assume that I am at work only when you can see it clearly. I have done my greatest work in the moments you believed nothing was happening. And now, as change draws near, I invite you to step forward in trust, not anchored in what you see, but in the one who has been faithful to you from beginning to end. My beloved child, this season has completed its work. You are no longer the person you were yesterday. Keep your ears attentive, your heart awake, and your spirit ready. What is coming is not meant to replace you, but to reveal you the person I have quietly shaped, tested, and refined over a long journey. And when you step into it, you will know that not a single day of waiting was wasted, for every one of them led you to the right time, the right place, and the right rhythm within my loving plan. My beloved child, the time has come when you can no longer continue walking with the same worn-out baggage you once carried. There are burdens you have borne for so long that you have begun to believe they are part of who you are, memories that were never healed, patterns of thinking formed out of pain, ways of reacting that once helped you survive, but now only leave you exhausted. I do not fault you for carrying them. I understand why you needed them in earlier seasons. But what lies ahead will not allow you to move forward with the same weight. Not because I wish to take something from you, but because I desire to give you more, and hands that are clenched cannot receive. Letting go is not a denial of the past, nor is it a dismissal of what you have endured. Letting go is placing things where they truly belong, recognizing that their purpose has been fulfilled. Some ways of thinking once shielded you from pain, but if you hold on to them too long, they become walls that keep you from loving, trusting, and walking in freedom. Some fears once warned you of danger, but if you allow them to lead, they will begin to choose for you. I am calling you to release what is too heavy, not because you are weak, but because you have grown to the point where you no longer need it. Leaving behind what cannot travel with you is an act of courage. In the first moment, you may feel exposed, as though you have removed a familiar layer of clothing. Yet that very emptiness is the space where I place what is new. Not everything from the past was harmful, but not everything can accompany you into the next season. There are attachments that have expired, expectations that no longer fit, quiet inner narratives that have turned into limitations. I am not asking you to forget, I am inviting you to reorder. So the past remains in its proper place, no longer governing your present or your future. That is why, even now, I am present in your room. I am not speaking from afar, nor sending words through vague signs. I am speaking clearly, because you have reached a moment when you can hear without fear. I am here, so you may know that this change does not come from pressure or impulse. It comes from very intentional care. I see you standing at the threshold of what is new, and I do not want you to enter it with shoulders bent beneath burdens I never placed upon you. What is coming will require obedience, not blind obedience, but obedience that flows from relationship. Obedience is choosing to trust me over your fears. It is responding to the call even when your reasoning has not yet drawn the entire map. This obedience does not diminish you, it frees you, because you no longer have to carry the weight of controlling everything. When you obey, you walk with the lightness of one who knows they are not alone. You will need to recognize my voice amid the noise. That noise does not come only from outside, from others' opinions, from hurried rhythms, from silent comparisons, but also from within memories, speaking up, old scripts replaying, whispers of self-reproach. My voice does not compete in volume. I lead with consistency and peace. When you hear my voice, you will not be startled. You will be anchored. When you follow my voice, you will not be torn apart. You will be ordered. Therefore, you must learn to discern what comes from me and what does not. Not every good idea is from me. Not every open door is my invitation. I do not lead you through haste or confusion. What comes from me carries enough light to take the next step and enough peace to remain. What does not come from me often presses you to rush, to prove, to defend. This discernment is a spiritual skill I am shaping within you, not to make you suspicious, but to make you steady. This is no longer a time to linger in doubt or allow confusion to decide for you. Prolonged confusion will stall you, and doubt left unexamined will harden your heart. I am not asking you to be certain of everything before you move. I am asking you to choose trust when you stand at the crossroads. If you wait until all confusion disappears, you may miss the rhythm I am setting. Remember, clarity often comes as you walk, not before. I am realigning your life not by tearing everything down, but by removing what must be moved and affirming, strengthening what must remain. There are foundations I laid in you long ago: faithfulness, sensitivity, a deep capacity to love, a quiet endurance. These are not being taken away, they are being reinforced. But there are also structures built out of fear, self-protection, and compromise. These must be dismantled so they do not obstruct what I am doing. This realignment may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. When the old order is shaken, you will be tempted to return to what is familiar. But, my child, familiarity is not always safety. I am your true place of safety. And when I reorder, I do so with the precision of love. I am not destroying you. I am freeing you from what has occupied the space meant for life. Let me complete this work. Do not cling to what I am asking you to release. Do not rush to rebuild what I have begun to remove. Obedience in this season is quiet, but it is decisive. Each time you choose to listen and act, you lay another solid stone for the new season. Each time you refuse to let confusion lead, you declare where your trust truly rests. My beloved child, I do not call you to let go so that you may lose. I call you to let go so that you may receive. What I long to give you is not merely a result or a new position, it is a new way of living, lighter, truer, more deeply connected to me. As you step into what is coming, you will need empty hands to receive, light shoulders to carry, and a heart that has been reordered to discern. So trust me in this moment. Allow me to continue arranging, affirming, and strengthening. You are not losing control. You are being led. And when this work is complete, you will walk forward, no longer pulled back by the past, no longer distracted by noise, but anchored in an obedience that brings life. I am here speaking, guiding, preparing you so that you may enter what is new with the freedom and power of a heart that has been made whole and put in order. My beloved child, I know there are days when you look around and see only uneven paths, heavy doors that have not yet opened, and questions still hanging quietly in your heart. You wonder why everything feels so difficult, why you seem to walk through more bends than others, why hope at times feels as fragile as a single thread. But I want you to know this deeply, not so you merely hear it and forget, but so you can stand firm. Not a single experience you have lived through was accidental. Not one tear was wasted, and no stretch of the road you have walked was meaningless. Every part of it, whether sweet or bitter, has been preparing you for what I am about to entrust to you. You have passed through seasons when everything appeared delayed. There were moments when you felt as though you were standing still while the world rushed forward. You looked back and questioned whether those years of waiting had produced anything other than weariness. But, my child, waiting in my hands is never a waste. It is where I deepen you, where I expand the capacity of your soul, where I teach you how to stand steady, even when clear answers are absent. If I had given you what is coming before you were ready, the very thing you longed for could have become a burden. That is why I used time to prepare you before preparing your circumstances. Now I speak to you with the certainty of love. The season of waiting has completed its work, and the season of fulfillment is beginning to open. But listen carefully, for this fulfillment will not look like the pictures you once drew in your mind. It will not unfold according to the script you imagined, nor will it arrive by the paths you considered most reasonable. My plans are not confined by human vision, and my ways are not bound by short-term logic. This does not mean I wish to confuse you. On the contrary, I desire to free you from the pressure of having to understand everything before you move forward. I ask 3 things of you, and these 3 will be the keys that open the door ahead: trust, surrender, and faith. Trust is choosing to place your heart in my hands, even when you cannot yet see the outcome. Surrender is releasing the need to control, letting go of the effort to force everything to happen according to your own will. Faith is taking a small step in obedience, even while the road ahead remains unclear. These do not require you to be stronger than you are. They simply ask that you be honest with me and willing to let me lead. If you choose to release your own understanding and rely on my wisdom, you will begin to see what once was locked slowly opening. Doors you tried to push with your own strength but could not move will open in ways you did not expect. Paths you thought impossible will appear before you, not because you suddenly became more capable, but because I have arranged each step. You will discover that when you stop striving to do everything by yourself, my power has room to work. My beloved child, what I am about to do is not a brief flash that fades away. It is not a momentary joy that sends you back into the old cycle. What is coming will mark a lasting shift in your life, a transformation that begins within and then moves outward. The way you see yourself will change. The way you face challenges will change. And the way you walk through daily life will change. You will no longer live merely to get through today, but will begin to live with the awareness that you are being led within a much larger story. When fulfillment begins, you may be surprised that it does not resemble what you expected. Yet when you look back, you will understand that this very difference is what makes it enduring. I do not give you things that satisfy only for a moment. I give you what can stand the test of time. And to carry such gifts, you need a foundation formed through trials, patience, and learning, a foundation that the years of waiting themselves have built. Do not believe that anything you have lived through was meaningless. Disappointments taught you discernment. Losses widened your heart for compassion. Moments you thought were failures made you more humble and more sensitive to my voice. Even the choices you regret were not beyond my redemption. I used them to teach you, shape you, and guide you back onto the right path. Nothing in your past lies outside my power to transform. As you step into this new season, you will carry not unhealed wounds, but wisdom drawn from them. You will carry not old fears, but courage refined through struggle. You will carry not the doubts that once held you back, but a faith that has been tested and proven steady. And with each step, you will recognize that what is unfolding is not the result of solitary effort, but the response of grace. My beloved child, let your heart rest in this truth. I was with you in every season, and I will remain with you in what is to come. When the path opens, you will know, not through complicated explanations, but through a deep and quiet peace that it did not come from your own strength. It came from my power, from my faithfulness that I have never withdrawn, and from the love that has carried you through every season. So walk forward with trust. Surrender what you do not yet understand. Hold fast to faith even when the details are unclear. Everything that has happened until now has been preparation. What is coming is the fullness of fulfillment. And when you stand within that fullness, you will look back on your journey, not with regret, but with gratitude, because you will see that not a single step was excessive. Not a single moment was meaningless. And not one experience was forgotten in my loving plan for you. My beloved child, not a single tear you have shed has fallen without meaning. Not one battle you have fought in silence has been overlooked. The doors that closed before you, though, they tightened your heart, and the long stretches of silence that left you unsure how to name what you were experiencing, all carried a depth of meaning beyond what you could recognize at the time. There are things that can only be understood when you look back from another place, with a vision that has been widened. But I want you to know this: everything you have lived through has been seen by me, held by me, and remembered by me with a love that does not forget. I saw the tears you wiped away quickly so no one would notice. I heard the prayers you whispered in the night when you no longer had the strength to speak aloud. I know the battles you never told anyone about, the battles waged in your thoughts, in your memories, in the small yet weighty choices you had to make. Nothing in your life has passed by without my notice. What you consider the past is still being kept by me, not to reopen wounds, but to redeem and transform in ways you have never imagined. You have walked through seasons when my voice seemed distant. You called out but did not hear a clear answer. You waited, and time felt longer than what your strength could endure. In those seasons, you wondered whether your prayers had reached me, whether I was listening or had turned elsewhere. My child, I understand that feeling, the sense of speaking into emptiness, of standing beneath a sealed sky. But the silence you perceived was not a sign of absence. It was the space I used to work at deeper levels, where your eyes could not yet see. In those quiet spaces, I was adjusting what you could not perceive. I was realigning pieces that did not yet fit. Some paths, if opened too soon, would have led you into places where you were not yet able to stand. Some connections, if kept, would have held you back from what I longed to give you. Because I love you, I chose to work in stillness, not to confuse you, but to protect you from what you could not yet discern. That silence was not empty. It was filled with the movement of grace. There were moments when confusion led you to believe I had left you, when answers did not come, when familiar signs disappeared. You thought you were walking alone. You felt lonely even among many people, displaced even within what was familiar. But, my child, loneliness does not mean abandonment. Even when you could not sense me, I was there, quiet, steadfast, never withdrawing. I never stopped working, even when you could not see my hand in motion. When you thought heaven was silent, I was still walking with you. I matched my pace to your weariness, neither pushing nor leaving you behind. I walked beside you on days when you had strength for only one small step. And even when you stopped in exhaustion, I did not leave. I was there to keep you from collapsing, to lift you when you no longer believed you could go on. My presence does not depend on your ability to feel it. It rests on the promise I set in place from the beginning. All of these things, tears, silence, closed doors, solitary steps, were not meant to crush you. They are the materials I am using to build within you a resilience deeper than fleeting emotion. This resilience does not harden you, it steadies you. It enables you to stand when circumstances shift, when praise fades, when external assurances disappear. I am forming in you a foundation that does not rely on what your eyes can see, but is anchored in the truth you have lived with me. The steadiness I am planting in you is not a cold rigidity, but the capacity to trust even without explanations. Trust does not mean never asking questions. It means not allowing questions to rule your heart. Trust is choosing to walk a little farther when you cannot yet see the destination. It is placing the weight of your life upon me rather than upon your own limited understanding. And this trust, refined through trial, will become the quiet strength that carries you through the seasons ahead. My beloved child, I have forgotten nothing. No memory is too small. No pain too old for me to touch. Everything you have passed through is being woven into a story of meaning, where no chapter is omitted. When you look back from where I am leading you, you will see that what you thought was delay was protection, what you believed was loss was release, and what you called silence was preparation. So do not condemn yourself for being tired, for doubting, for having moments when you wanted to let go. I know your limits, and I have never asked you to exceed them alone. I was there in the moments you were weakest to keep the flame alive, even if it was only a tiny ember, and that ember, guarded through wind and rain, will rise into flame at the appointed time. Let your heart rest in this truth. Nothing you have endured has been meaningless. All of it is working together to form in you a strength that does not seek attention, a faith that does not need noise, and a steadiness that is not easily shaken. I have seen it all. I have held it all. And I am turning it all toward good, in my way, a way far beyond what your eyes can see today. My beloved child, even when the road made you feel alone, you were never walking by yourself. I was there. I have been there. I am there. And I will always be there, walking with you, holding you, and leading you to the place where every tear will be understood, every battle redeemed, and every season of silence will blossom into enduring strength. My beloved child, now I speak to you with the gravity of a decisive moment, because the time has ripened for what I have been quietly preparing to be revealed. This is no longer a matter of vague signs or subtle movements behind the scenes. What is coming will be clear enough that you cannot mistake it. You will perceive it not only with your mind, but with your whole being, with your emotions, with your intuition, with a deep resonance within your soul. This change is not a gentle adjustment, nor a minor improvement that allows you to continue living as before. It is a turning point, a threshold that once crossed, you will know you cannot return to where you first began. I know these words may awaken both hope and hesitation within you. You have grown accustomed to what is familiar, even though it no longer nourishes you as it once did. You have learned to stand firm on ground, you know, even when that ground has become barren. But, my child, the ground you have been standing on will be shaken. The structures you once relied upon, habits, patterns of thinking, securities you built for yourself, will be tested. This does not happen to frighten you, but to reveal what can truly stand when everything is shaken. I do not shake the ground to destroy you. I shake it so that your heart will no longer rest on what lacks the strength to carry you farther. When the old ground begins to shift, you may feel disoriented. You will wonder why what once seemed fine no longer works, why familiar supports suddenly feel fragile. Yet it is precisely in that moment that I invite you to look deeper. What I am doing is not removing safety, but redefining it. True security does not come from everything remaining still. It comes from standing on a foundation that cannot be shaken. And that foundation is not outside of you, it is being built within you, layer by layer, level by level, with the precision of love. The foundation I am laying within you must be deeper than before, because the weight of glory I will entrust to you is not as light as you imagine. Glory is not merely joy or success, it is responsibility, influence, and the capacity to carry light into dark places. If the foundation is not deep enough, that weight will cause you to falter. So I dig deeper through layers of confidence rooted in achievement, through layers of worth tied to recognition, through layers of protection formed from past wounds. I am not in haste, for I know that every stroke of refinement is preparing you for something greater. You may find yourself having to let go of more than you expected, letting go of old definitions of success, of dreams you once believed were supreme, even of the image you held of yourself. But, my child, letting go does not mean loss. It is an exchange. You release what is smaller to receive what is greater. You release what is temporary to receive what is enduring. You release control to receive guidance. And in this exchange, you will not be left empty. You will be filled in a new way. In the midst of this shaking, let Scripture anchor your heart like an anchor that does not slip. Hebrews 1:2-6:27 declares, "Once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heavens, so that what cannot be shaken may remain." What is shaken is not what I intend to keep for you. What remains standing after the shaking is what belongs to your future. When you grasp this, you will fear change less and begin to see it as a gracious purification. What I am preparing for you will propel you forward not by pressure, but by calling. You will sense an inward pull, an urging that will not allow you to live superficially as before. You will know that you are being invited to step beyond your comfort zone, not into meaningless risk, but into the depth of purpose. And as you step, you will discover that every step, however trembling, is upheld by my hand. This change will touch every area of your life. The way you see the world will be different. The way you see others will be different. Even the way you see yourself will be different. You will no longer easily compromise with things that shrink your soul. You will no longer seek stability by avoiding truth. Instead, you will learn to stand firm in truth, even when truth calls for courage. This is not hardness, this is maturity. I know you may worry that you are not ready, but, my child, readiness does not come from knowing everything. It comes from trusting the one who knows everything. I do not lead you into this change alone. I go before you to prepare the way. I walk beside you to support you, and I stand behind you to protect you. When you stumble, I do not reproach you. I lift you up. When you slow down, I do not push you. I wait. But I will not allow you to return to living beneath the calling for which I created you. The glory I am about to pour out is not meant to make you proud, but to make you useful. It is not to exalt the self, but to reveal love. You will find yourself placed into new spaces, new relationships, new responsibilities. And the deep foundation I am building today will enable you to carry these things without losing humility or sensitivity to my voice. My beloved child, remember that shaking is not a sign of collapse, but a sign of restructuring. I am not destroying your future. I am clearing the ground so that it can stand secure. When the dust settles, you will see more clearly than ever what truly belongs to you and what was only temporary. And in that clarity, you will walk in a new freedom, the freedom of one who knows they are standing on a foundation that cannot be shaken. So do not be afraid when the old ground trembles. Do not cling to what I am gently loosening. Trust me in this process, for what I am building within you is deeper than anything you have known, and what I am about to entrust to you is greater than anything you have ever dreamed. When the change is complete, you will look back and understand that every shaking was grace, every testing was preparation, and every step forward led you into the glory I set aside for you long ago. My beloved child, in order to carry what I am about to entrust to you, you can no longer continue to lean on the fragile foundations that once supported you in earlier seasons. There were things that helped you stand when you were still young and vulnerable, but now they are no longer strong enough to bear the weight of what is new. I do not fault you for relying on them. I understand why you needed them in those former stages. But, my child, this season is changing, and what I am preparing for you requires a different foundation, one that is firmer, deeper, and not governed by the temporary nature of circumstances or passing emotions. This new season will require from you a decisive choice. It is no longer a time when you can stand halfway between two worlds, desiring to step into the eternal things I give while still clinging to the temporary securities of the world. You cannot walk with one foot planted on eternal truth and the other standing on fear of loss. Old habits, or the false sense of safety you have built for yourself. These two foundations cannot coexist. When the weight increases, one of them will collapse. And I do not want you to fall, I want you to stand firm. You can no longer continue searching for answers in uncertain places when only I can give what your soul truly needs. The world may offer many opinions, much advice, and many paths that appear reasonable, but they cannot reach the core of your soul. You have tried, you have searched, analyzed, and compared, and still, deep within, you feel a lack. That is not because you have not tried hard enough. It is because you have been seeking from the wrong source. The deepest answers are not found in control, but in relationship, not in accumulated understanding, but in surrender. Nor can you continue feeding your soul with what the world provides while expecting my presence to fill you completely. Your soul was not created to live on fragments, fleeting praise, temporary achievements, brief moments of satisfaction. When you consume these for too long, you become accustomed to a false fullness and forget your true hunger. But, my child, my presence is not something meant to patch what is missing. I am the source of life. When you allow me to be the source, your soul is nourished in fullness. The coming change will draw a very clear line. It will not only divide circumstances, but attitudes of the heart. It will reveal who is willing to surrender and who still resists, who chooses to step forward despite trembling and who pulls back in fear, who places trust in me and who still wants to retain control. This line is not meant to condemn, but to reveal the truth, and that truth will help you see where you stand, so that you may choose how to move forward. My beloved child, I have placed my hand upon you, and this has never been by chance. I did not choose you because you were ready, nor because you were perfect. I did not choose you because you were stronger than others or because you understood everything. I chose you because I saw in you what human eyes could not, a capacity to respond to the call, a heart that can be shaped, a soul that can bear the weight of what I will do. Before you ever doubted yourself, I already knew who you were. In the midst of this calling, let Scripture anchor your heart. Ephesians 1:4 says, "For he chose us in Christ before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and blameless before him." You were not chosen because you were worthy by human standards. You were chosen because my purpose was established beforehand. What I am calling you into does not rest on your present ability, but on what I placed within you from the very beginning. I am calling you to greater things, greater than what you dare to dream, greater than the limits you have set for yourself. Yet greater does not always mean loud or visible. Sometimes it is depth, quiet influence, and the ability to stand where others fall. You will be invited to carry light into places that are not easy to enter, to hold truth where others compromise, and to love where others close their hearts. These things require you to place your full trust in me, not in emotions or temporary confidence. I know there are moments when you feel unworthy. You look at your shortcomings, your mistakes, the times you failed to meet expectations, those of others and even your own. You feel powerless when you compare yourself to an ideal image you once thought I required. But, my child, I am not limited by your imperfections. In my purpose, everything has already been made complete, not because you have done enough, but because I have prepared enough. What remains is not for you to become someone else, but to be willing for me to work through who you truly are. The surrender I am inviting you into is not the loss of yourself. It is the rediscovery of yourself in the light of truth. When you stop resisting and stop dividing your heart between two directions, you will experience a new freedom, the freedom of one who no longer needs to prove, compare, or maintain an image. You will walk lighter, clearer, and steadier, because you know with whom you are walking. My beloved child, recognize that this moment is decisive, not because I am forcing you, but because you are ready to choose. I do not pull you, I invite you. I do not push you into darkness, I lead you into deeper light. But you must choose. Choose to release what is temporary in order to grasp what is eternal. Choose to listen to my voice rather than the noise. Choose to step forward even while your heart still trembles. I am here, unchanging, unwavering, without withdrawing my hand or doubting you. What I have placed within you is still there, waiting to be fully awakened. Trust me in this choice. For when you choose to stand on an eternal foundation, you will realize that everything I have promised is not mere words, but a reality now unfolding. And in that reality, you will know that you did not step into these great things by your own strength, but by grace that was fully prepared in advance, set apart for you alone. Beloved child, the change that is coming will not arrive in the gentle form you once hoped for. It will touch directly the very human sense of security you have leaned on for so long, shaking foundations you believed could never be moved. You may feel as though the ground beneath your feet is no longer steady, as if what is familiar is slipping from your grasp. I know this makes your heart tremble, for the human soul longs for stability, for supports that can be predicted. Yet, my child, in the midst of this shaking, I do not withdraw, I draw nearer. I will be your refuge, your strength when your legs grow weary, the unshakable foundation when every other support falls away. Do not be afraid when what you once knew begins to change. Fear often whispers that change means loss, that if you do not cling tightly to what you have, you will be left with nothing. But I speak to you in this truth: what is happening is not loss, but addition. Some things you are holding on to simply because they are familiar, not because they still nourish you. Some supports helped you stand in earlier seasons, but if you continue to cling to them, they will prevent you from stepping into what is new. I do not take away to leave you empty. I remove so there is room for what is true to rise. I am removing the layers of pretense. You have worn images you felt you had to maintain to be accepted, roles you learned to play to avoid being hurt, beliefs you constructed to hide your fear. These layers once helped you survive, but they are no longer necessary. I am gently unfastening them, not to expose you to the world, but to free you before me, as what is false falls away. You will begin to recognize your true self, no longer distorted by fear, no longer confined by the expectations of others. At the same time, I am cleansing what is impure so that what is holy may be revealed. Cleansing is not punishment, it is preparation. Just as metal is placed into fire not to be destroyed but to be refined, your soul is passing through the necessary heat so that impurities no longer hold power. Motives you never noticed, desires mingled between the sacred and the merely human, are now being brought into the light. I do not expose them to shame you, I expose them to heal you, so that you may stand before me with a heart that is purer and more whole. In the midst of this shaking and cleansing, let Scripture anchor your heart as a steadfast promise. Psalm 4:6-1 says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. You are not called to face change by your own strength. You are invited to take refuge in me. When you shelter in me, you will discover that even in the storm, there is a peace that does not come from circumstances, but from presence. I am also preparing what is still hidden seeds, sown in silence. Promises not yet named. Capacities you never dared to believe were real. They have not appeared because they do not exist, but because the time has not yet come. Everything in me has its appointed moment, and that moment is not determined by impatience or external pressure. When the time arrives, what has been concealed will step into the light with the strength of maturity, without you needing to force or display it. You have often asked why the waiting has been so long. There were nights when you watched the clock and felt as though you were standing still while life moved on. You wondered whether the waiting was truly necessary, whether you were being delayed without reason. Beloved child, today I speak to you with gentleness and certainty. The waiting is necessary, not because I am slow, but because I am protecting you from receiving too soon what you were not yet strong enough to carry. If I had given you what you desired earlier, you would have had to hold it with hands still, weak hands, not yet trained by patience, not yet strengthened by discernment, not yet fortified by surrender. Under the weight of blessing, you might have dropped it, or worse, been wounded by it. I love you enough not to give great things before you are ready. What you perceive as delay is, in truth, grace standing guard. Beloved child, understand that this change does not come to disorient you, but to return you to the right place. When old supports collapse, you will learn to rely on me, not as a last resort, but as your first foundation. When what is familiar disappears, you will discover new depths of faith, a faith that does not require immediate proof, that does not demand clarity before moving forward. That very faith will be the key that opens doors you have never seen. You may protest that you are tired, that you do not want another season of shaking. I hear you, and I do not dismiss your weariness. But my child, you are not passing through this change alone. I walk with you in every breath, every unsteady step. When you are weak, I am your strength. When you are afraid, I am your refuge. When you do not understand, I am the wisdom guiding your way. You do not need to strain to appear strong. You only need to remain in my presence. The day will come when you look back and realize that what you thought was taken away was actually replaced with something better. What you believed was destroyed was rebuilt on a deeper foundation. And what you perceived as delay spared you from many things you were not yet able to face. When the full light reveals the whole picture, You will understand that every moment of waiting, every shaking, every long night played a part in preparing you for something more complete. So, beloved child, do not resist the change that is coming. Do not fear when old supports are gone. Let me be your refuge and your strength. Trust that I am removing what is false to reveal what is true, cleansing so that holiness may be made visible, concealing so that in the right time it will be unveiled. And as you pass through this season, you will discover that your hands are no longer as weak as before. They have been strengthened to carry blessing without dropping it, without fear, with a steadiness that comes from me alone. My beloved child, listen now with a heart that has passed through many seasons and is no longer as easily shaken as before. By this time, your character has been refined through collisions you once believed were too much to bear. Your faith has been tested in long nights when answers had not yet arrived, and your strength has grown not through display, but through the ability to remain standing when there was nothing left to cling to but me. What once caused you to tremble, what once made you want to turn back, has now become firm ground beneath your feet. Not because fear no longer exists, but because you have learned not to let fear decide in your place. Now you are ready for what you once could not endure. There are weights that, if placed upon you too early, would have crushed you. There are doors that, if opened while you were still unformed, would have left you more confused than free. I waited not because I was slow, but because I was faithful to the process. I allowed time to do its work within you, so that hurried reactions would be replaced by discernment, and shallow expectations by the depth of purpose. When you look back, you will see that every delay was a layer of protection, every trial a lesson in preparation. What is coming is not only an answer to the prayers you lifted through tears and hope, it is a purpose far greater than yourself. I am not merely responding to what you asked for. I am expanding who you are being called to become. My answer does not end with meeting a need, it leads you into a role. And that role requires from you not only trust, but maturity, a heart that knows how to place the good of what is greater above personal comfort. I am positioning you where your actions will affect more than your own life. You will no longer walk within a narrow space, centered only on personal choices. You will step onto an intersection where your decisions touch many lives. This is not meant to create pressure, but to awaken awareness. I do not call you to be perfect. I call you to be faithful, faithful in small things, steady in greater things, and humble in every circumstance. Every choice you make will ripple into the lives of others. Every step you take will produce consequences you cannot yet imagine. Some words you speak will become anchors for others in the midst of storms. Some silences you keep will protect fragile things, still taking shape. Some decisions you make in private, unseen by anyone, will open the way for public outcomes later. Therefore, I invite you to walk with loving care, not with a fear of making mistakes, but with the awareness that each day is an opportunity to reflect what I am forming within you. In the midst of this calling, let Scripture steady and illuminate your heart. Esther 4:14 says, "And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Not every position comes for personal glory. Some come because of timing. Some doors open not so you may be seen, but so you may see others. When you understand this, you will ask less. What does this bring to me? And begin to ask, what am I placed here to serve? I know that as you hear these words, your heart rises with both joy and hesitation. You sense the scale of what is approaching, and you wonder whether you are enough. My child, I do not require that you be enough. I promise that I will be with you. Your capacity does not rest in knowing everything. but in knowing how to return to me when you do not understand. Your endurance is not born of iron will, but of the daily habit of placing your heart in my presence. You have learned how to listen not only to the noise outside, but to the subtle movements within. You have learned how to wait not with stagnation, but with preparation. You have learned how to let go not as surrender to defeat, but as an act of trust. These lessons were not given for you to keep to yourself. They were given so that you might become a blessing to many others. As you step into what is coming, you will realize that what once felt like too much is now precisely what is needed for the role ahead. My beloved child, do not shrink my vision by the limits you place upon yourself. I did not call you to live constrained by the fear of failure. I called you to walk in wisdom that has been refined. This wisdom is not loud. It knows when to move forward and when to pause. It knows when to speak and when to remain silent. It places people above performance, truth above convenience, and love above the need for recognition. In the position I am giving you, you will encounter crossroads that demand swift choices. Remember that speed is not the measure of faithfulness. At times I will lead you more slowly than others expect, to protect you from hasty decisions. At times I will urge you forward faster than your comfort allows, so you do not miss the moment. My guidance will not always align with emotion, but it will always lead toward life. What is coming will require you to keep your heart soft. Influence, if not grounded in humility, becomes a burden. So keep your heart attentive to my voice, attentive to the pain of others, attentive to the signs that you need rest. I do not call you to exhaustion, I call you to lasting fruit. And lasting fruit flows only from a life that abides in me. My beloved child, as you step into the new, you will realize that my purpose has never been foreign to you. It was planted within you long ago, watered through seasons of trial, and guarded in times of silence. Now that you are ready, I invite you to rise not with showy confidence, but with quiet assurance. What is coming will not only answer old prayers, it will open new ones broader, deeper, and bound to the good of many more lives. My beloved child, it is for this very reason that I now speak to you with unmistakable clarity. This is not a vague moment in which you are meant to hesitate or draw back. This is a moment to stand firm in the truth I have already revealed. To stand firm while your emotions are still unsettled. To stand firm even as circumstances have not yet visibly shifted. I am not calling you to turn around and stare at old fears, nor am I inviting you to sink into assumptions about what has not yet happened. I am calling you to remain with the truth that is being illuminated before your eyes. For that truth does not come to burden your heart, but to free you from the long-standing cycle of uncertainty that has held you captive for too long. Do not take lightly the words I am giving you today. Do not assume they are merely another message passing by among the countless sounds you have heard before. These words are not sent to fill your mind, but to sustain your soul. They carry the breath of life, a life that has the power to quiet the inner noise, to gather the scattered fragments of your heart, and to restore them to their rightful place. When you listen with your whole heart, you will discover that these words are not only speaking about the path, but are actively leading you along that path. If you hold tightly to the words I give you, not with strain, but with gentle trust, you will begin to see confusion fade away. Uncertainty cannot rule where light has been switched on. The noise of the world, though it may still echo, will lose its authority in the presence of my nearness. You will no longer need to react to every shift. You will learn instead to respond from a peace that is firmly anchored. As my word remains within you, Decisions that once felt overwhelming will become clearer, not because you know everything, but because you know who is guiding you. But if you turn away from these words, if you treat them as secondary, as a whisper that can be ignored, you will find yourself returning to the old cycle of struggle, not because I have left you, but because you have stepped away from the anchor. Uncertainty will press in again. Familiar questions will resurface with greater intensity, and you will feel as though you are striving alone to control what lies beyond your strength. I do not say this to threaten you. I say it to protect you. I do not want you to return to the place that exhausted you. I want you to move forward with me, in a trust that has been refined through many seasons. Let Scripture become an anchor for your heart right now. John 8:1-32 says, "If you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." To abide in the word is not to memorize it with the mind alone, but to live under its guidance, to allow truth to shape how you see, how you choose, and how you walk. When you remain, freedom does not come because everything becomes easy, but because you are no longer bound by fear and doubt. I do not want you to step back. I do not want you to shrink inward, thinking you are not ready. You have been prepared more than you realize. The seasons of testing did not weaken you, they deepened you. The seasons of waiting did not delay you, they aligned your rhythm. And now, when I call you to stand firm, it is because you have a foundation on which to stand, not a foundation of outward confidence, but of quiet conviction. Step forward with me. You do not need to run only to step. One faithful step today is worth more than 10 hurried steps tomorrow. The future I am preparing for you far exceeds your past. Not because your past was meaningless, but because it has completed its purpose. The past taught you what you needed to learn. The future will invite you to live what you have learned. You will not be confined by old definitions of who you are. You will not be limited by the labels you once placed upon yourself. In what I am doing, you are being invited out of the shadow of failure and into the light of purpose, a purpose that is not loud, yet enduring, not showy, yet far-reaching. What is coming will unfold quickly. You will sense an acceleration of pace, doors opening almost simultaneously, invitations appearing unexpectedly, inner movements calling for a response sooner than you anticipated. This will not resemble what you once planned, nor will it follow the order you expected. I do not disrupt your plans to confuse you. I do so to prevent you from being confined by a narrow vision. When I act, I open paths your mind could not have drawn, and for that very reason, you will need to stay closer to me than ever before. In this faster rhythm, keep your heart at rest. Rest does not mean slowing everything down. It means keeping your center anchored in me. You will need to discern what is essential and what is merely noise. You will need to learn to say no to appealing but empty calls, so that you can say yes to what truly carries life. This discernment does not come from anxiety, but from intimacy with my voice, intimacy with my presence, intimacy with the truth I have placed within you. My beloved child, I know you have been wounded by promises left unfulfilled, by plans that collapsed, by paths that seemed right yet led to dead ends. That is precisely why I am speaking to you so clearly today. I do not want you guessing, I want you knowing. I do not want you managing on your own, I want you resting in me. When you hold my word as a treasure, you will find that peace is no longer a luxury, but a pattern of life. You will walk forward not because everything is certain, but because the one who leads you is faithful. If at times your heart trembles at the speed of change, remember this: I am not calling you to prove anything. I am calling you to trust. Trust does not make you passive. It frees you to act at the right time. Trust does not erase your individuality. It refines it to serve a greater purpose. And when you stumble, for everyone stumbles at times, I do not withdraw the call. I lift you up, adjust your steps, and continue to lead you forward. So do not treat lightly the words I am giving you. Let them remain with you when you wake and when you rest, when you decide and when you wait. Let them shape how you view the future, not through control, but through steadfast hope. I am here speaking, guiding, leading, and what is coming, though swift, though different, will never exceed the measure of my presence with you. Stand firm, step forward, remain in the truth, for the road ahead is not one you must carve out alone. It is a road I have already prepared, and I will walk with you every step of the way, from the beginning until all that I have promised is fulfilled. My beloved child, I will act by my own power, and when I do, you will know with clarity that it is not the result of your own strength, nor a fortunate coincidence. I will move in a way that causes all glory to return to me, so that your heart may be released from the burden of having to prove yourself, to strain, to hold yourself up by your own effort. What you have waited for all this time has not been buried in forgetfulness. On the contrary, that waiting is being transformed into a living testimony. The years of silence when you spoke little, when you did not defend yourself, when you chose to remain in patience, will become a declaration more powerful than any speech. And the weakness you once hid in shame will be transformed into a strength that is not showy, but steady and trustworthy. When you see what I am about to do, you will understand not through reasoning, but through a knowing deep within your soul that every slow step, every quiet tear, every sleepless night of anxiety was worth it. You will no longer ask, "Why me?" or "Was it worth it?" You will know that everything has been rewoven into a story with meaning. What you once called delay will reveal itself as protection. What you called loss will appear as preparation. And what you called weakness will shine as the foundation upon which my power is displayed. What I am revealing to you now goes far beyond what you have known before. For I am leading you into a new level of understanding, not only about circumstances, but about me and about yourself. This understanding does not come from accumulating information, but from walking with me through contrasting seasons. You learned to recognize my voice when everything was noisy. Now you will learn to discern my intention when everything accelerates. You learned to stand firm when there were no answers. Now you will learn to walk when answers come faster than you expect. This is another kind of maturity, deeper and more demanding, calling for a heart that is alert and ready. You have gone through experiences that shaped your life, experiences that etched lessons deeply, formed your reflexes, and sharpened your vision. But now you are entering a new season, where those lessons are not merely for survival, but for service. I need the inner person within you to be awake, not asleep in past achievements, not withdrawn in old fears, not settled into familiar patterns. This wakefulness does not make you tense. It makes you discerning. It enables you to know what must be held and what must be released as the rhythm changes. You cannot remain forever in what is familiar, not because those things were wrong, but because they have fulfilled their purpose. There are paths that brought you here but will not take you further. There are ways of thinking that once helped you endure but will not help you build. I am not asking you to deny the past. I am inviting you to place it where it belongs as a foundation, not a destination. What lies ahead will not resemble the steps you took before, for the weight of purpose has increased and the scope of influence has expanded. I am the one who makes a way in places you have never known, not by drawing every detail in advance, but by going before you and calling you to follow. I am the one who turns the impossible into reality, not by making everything easy, but by making everything possible in me. This time, I will remove the blindness from your eyes, not only blindness to circumstances, but blindness to yourself. You will begin to see more clearly your motives, your tendencies, your gifts, and even the limits that must be set in their proper place. This clarity is not meant to make you proud. It is meant to make you humble and precise. I am speaking not only of what is happening around you, open doors, unexpected movements, rapid changes, but also of what is taking place deep within your spirit. In that deep place, I am rearranging the order of love, what comes first, what follows, what is central, what is merely a means. I am adjusting the rhythm of your spiritual heartbeat so that it aligns with what I am doing, not swept along by the world's urgency, nor slowed by fear of change. The silence you once kept when you did not argue to win, when you did not display yourself to be seen, I am turning into a confession. This confession will not be loud. It will resonate through the consistency of your life, the steadiness of your decisions, the peace you carry amid upheaval. Others will ask why you no longer panic as before, why you no longer react as you once did, and that very difference will open doors for truth to be shared. I will use the very places where you were once weakest as gateways through which grace will flow. Your weakness will be transformed into strength, not the strength of domination, but of endurance. It is a strength that knows how to rise after each fall, how to rest at the right time to avoid exhaustion, how to say enough to unnecessary pressures. You will no longer fear admitting that you need me. Instead, you will recognize that rightly placed dependence is the foundation of freedom. When you no longer have to hide, you will be lighter, and when you are lighter, you will go farther. When I act, I will do so in a way that leaves you unable to claim the credit. This is not to make you feel small, but to free you from the burden of ego. You will know that what happened was not because you were good enough, but because I was faithful enough, and in that knowing, you will walk with deep gratitude not only for the outcome, but for the process that shaped you into who you were called to be. I am leading you into a new level of understanding, where you no longer ask first, what does this bring to me, but rather, what does this serve beyond me? That question will reshape how you choose, how you invest your time, how you use your influence. You will see that small choices, keeping your word, speaking truth, choosing love, accumulate into great weight in the new season. And it is these small things that will keep you standing when greater things arrive swiftly. My beloved child, I know there are moments when you are afraid of the unknown. I do not despise that fear. I invite you to bring it to me. I do not ask you to feel no fear. I ask you not to let fear take the wheel. When you place your hand in mine, fear may not vanish at once, but it will lose its power. You will walk, not because you see the entire path, but because you trust the one who leads. What is coming will not look like what you planned. The order you expected may be overturned. The timing you considered reasonable may arrive sooner or later. But trust this, my wisdom overlooks no detail. I know when you need to be supported, when you need to be challenged, when you need to rest. And I will be there in every movement, every decision, every moment you need light. When I remove the blindness from your eyes, you will see more clearly not only what I am doing, but who you are becoming. You will see that this new season does not erase who you have been, it completes it. You will walk with a confidence that does not come from control, but from presence. And in that presence, you will find the courage to say yes when I call, and the wisdom to say not yet when waiting is required. Beloved child, there have been stretches of road you have walked with a mind weighed down by questions that seem to have no answers. You tried to explain everything through your own reasoning, to measure circumstances with limited understanding, to search for causes using the fragments you had in hand. You thought, analyzed, compared, and then felt the familiar disappointment when the picture still would not come together. But now, I speak to you with the gentleness of one who has seen the whole from beginning to end. What you did not understand was never because you were lacking, but because there are depths that can only be illuminated at the appointed time. I will show you the true reasons behind the things that once left you confused, not so you would return to blame the past, nor to torment yourself over former choices, but so you might be freed from the burden of self-accusation. You will understand why I allowed circumstances that once seemed inexplicable to you, doors that closed without warning, bonds that unraveled, opportunities that passed in silence. None of these were abandonment, they were necessary adjustments, so you would not drift from the deeper path on which I am leading you. What once appeared tangled will become clear, not because every detail is explained in a dry or mechanical way, but because you will see how the events connect. You will understand that some things had to be slowed, so you would not move faster than your heart was ready to go. Some things had to be halted, so you could learn to listen. Some things had to be redirected so you would not build your life on fragile foundations. When the light of truth shines, the questions that once exhausted you will grow quiet, and in their place will come a deep peace, the peace that comes from knowing that everything has meaning. What once felt empty will be filled. You have passed through seasons of silence in which you felt like an empty vessel praying without hearing a reply, walking without seeing footprints. But, beloved child, that emptiness was not a sign of lack. It was space I was making to pour in something new. There are things that cannot be added while you are still clinging tightly to the old. I allowed your heart to be emptied so that when I filled it, the fullness would not spill away, but sink deep and remain. What once seemed lost will be restored in ways you did not expect. My restoration does not always mean returning things to their former state. Often I give them back in a new form, deeper, humbler, and more fitting for who you have become. There are dreams I do not return unchanged, because you have outgrown them. There are relationships I do not restore as they were, because you need healthier connections. Yet, in all things, I do not let loss be a final period. I turn it into a comma, so the story can continue in a better direction. Beloved child, I am the one who writes the story of your life. I know every chapter that has passed, every turn in the plot, every pause between the lines. Though many times you tried to take the pen yourself, writing faster, revising according to your own will, I have never relinquished sovereignty. I do not snatch the pen from your hand to render you powerless. I keep authorship to protect the story from hurried endings. There are pages you wrote with tears, pages you wrote with hope, and pages you wrote through missteps. I was present in every one, not only reading, but revising with grace. Do not think that the pages of your life are filled only with meaningless mistakes. Do not call your failures a waste. Even the times you took detours, the turns that slowed you down or forced you to turn back, have been used to shape you into who you are today. You learned discernment through confusion, humility through stumbling, compassion through the wounds you carried. These lessons are not learned in comfort. They are etched into the journey. In your hardest moments, the sleepless nights, the days when you had strength for only one more step, I was very near. I did not promise you would not feel pain, but I promised that your pain would not be meaningless. I used those very hours to soften your heart, to expand the capacity of your soul, and to teach you how to lean on me when every other support fell away. You did not become weaker because you suffered. You became deeper because you endured. Now, as I open your eyes to look back, you will see that the story of your life is not a series of random incidents, but a journey woven with intention. What once seemed scattered will fall into order. Misplaced pieces will find their place. You will realize that if even one chapter were missing, even a chapter you would rather not reread, the story would lose its necessary depth. I do not romanticize the past, I redeem it. Beloved child, do not be afraid when new understanding comes and asks you to adjust how you see yourself. Truth does not arrive to shame you, it comes to set you free. When you understand why I allowed what has happened, you will stop blaming yourself and stop doubting me. You will see that grace is not the erasure of every mark, but the transformation of those marks into testimonies of change. You will learn to tell your life story not with bitterness, but with gratitude, not because everything was good, but because everything was used for good. I am leading you into a new level of maturity, where you no longer need to control every detail to feel safe. Your safety now rests in knowing that I am still writing carefully, faithfully, and in love. You do not need to return to correct every old mistake. I have done that with grace. You do not need to fear the chapters yet unwritten. I have seen the ending, and that ending carries life. So release the pen from your anxious grip and place it in my hand once more, not so you become passive, but so you become a co-laborer, walking, choosing, and loving under my guidance. As you follow, you will discover that what I write through your life is not only for you to read, but for others to be strengthened by. Your story, woven with tears and hope, will become a refuge for those who walk through similar shadows. Thank you for listening to today's message. Please subscribe and turn on notifications so that we can together receive the words of life. Build a steadfast faith and walk in the boundless love of God. Amen.